there's no power. Some people have complained about the accommodations provided for teachers, UCOM members, and then with all of these things, you now still give them 33,000 naira or 40,000 naira. Meanwhile, the doctors were being paid 150, 160. In some cases, some people who actually went to Abuja, right, were making as much as 350,000 naira. Yes, government allowance will come. Then the hospital that they were attached to would also pay. So doctors were doing pretty good. And once again, it is not in any way to downplay their importance, right? Or to say the money is too much. I don't think the money is ever too much for a medical doctor, let's be honest. But in the process of training and preparing these Nigerians to be very good citizens, of the country, does it not leave a sour taste to be giving some would say preferential treatment, on an uneven scale, it would seem. Yes. In some camps, for example, the electrical engineers, once they identify you, electrical engineer, see, from the day you are identified as electrical engineer, bam, your work for that 3 weeks in camp is to make sure the generator doesn't go bad. You service the generator. Every single bulb that was blown or whatever, if the camp commander will call you, here there is one, and you got engineer code. There's no light there. Go and fix it. I think it's a great idea. Practice what you were taught. It gives you that kind of. It's kind of like IT, if I'm to say so, right? But whilst they're doing that, and then they leave camp, some of these engineers, they don't get the 150,000 naira that doctors were getting. Some, not all. Then what about accountants? What about those who read, theater arts? They're meant to entertain us. Look at the world these days. Everybody's becoming a content creator. Everybody wants to be the next Jim Ike. Everybody wants to be the next what's her name? Fibrosima, or everybody wants to be the big thing. Bisola, for example, everybody wants to act like, everyone wants to be versatile. So when we are in camp, for example, they're doing those macho man contests or those beauty pageants, and there's a theater show or play, shouldn't we also, expect these people, to be, these guys they're mimicking society. It takes a lot of ingenuity to carry out a role and perform it. But, when they leave camp, they'll send them to one school, and they take their 3,000 as well. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a conversation.
The views and opinions shared on this program do not represent the position of Nigeria Info FM. Nigeria Info, let's talk.
With Jude on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
Zero 08179230002, 08179230007. 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0009. At Nigeria Info PH, at Nigeria Info PH is where you find us on Facebook and on X, at Nigeria Info PH, at Nigeria Info PH. That's where you find us on Facebook and on X. All right. Don't forget, later on this morning, we get to talk about cars, and I'll be telling you, some of the tech and driver aids that are not good. They actually cause more harm than good. So stick around for Car Corner by 10 o'clock. All right. Then send us a message, right? 0809 030 6416, 0809 030 6416. Do Or should certain professions get preferential treatment during the service period? That's our question. Dan highlights says treat according to the profession. Everybody should be treated according to their profession. So if we do so, how fair does it seem that one profession seems to get better pay? Obviously, stratification. I'm not sure most people will argue about that, but in camp, for example, you really find doctors being hounded. Hey, come on, match pass. We're going to do please, when the clinic, please, even though most of them aren't doing anything. Engineers will, oh no, we have to go and fix. We were up last night trying to fix the bulb that spoils the generator house. That's the problem. We are resting. Okay, engine boys. Meanwhile, marketing boys outside under the hot sun. Yes. Microbiology boys outside under the hot sun. Theater girls outside under the hot sun. Those that are now volunteer to go and cook. Yes, because if you didn't know, some girls will now volunteer to be in the kitchen staff or to join the kitchen staff. And those ones maybe. But still, everybody else, not that one. But anyway, what do I know? WhatsApp message here 0809-030-6416. 0809-030-6416. Good morning, Jude. Why wouldn't they get preferential treatment even when the camp officials themselves start seeking free medical consultations from the core members, our doctors, for instance? They deserve what they get. If fine from other judge, that's a very valid point. That is a very valid point. The minute you identify as a doctor, right, in camp, right, for many of the stories I've heard, if it's not the camp commandant, it's one of the soldiers attached. Who say, hey, doctor, I get one pain. They do me like me. All of these things are consultations free of charge because the person is within your immediate vicinity. You have access to them. And don't forget, this is camp where you have sometimes 3, 5, 8,000 people converging for a 3-week period. So if the person is giving you, or she's giving, if she's a doctor, is giving you free medical advice, what's there? This is a very funny comment. Oh my goodness. It says, I had a friend that read criminology and was posted to a school. If not that he stood on his ground, he would have been a security guard in the school. He ended up teaching government in the school. What? How many want to make him a security? Oh, come on. No. Come on. Don't say that. Don't say that. All right, Emmanuel in Uniport says, good morning, Jude. When Davies and Moore, 1945, argued that society is stratified based on the functional importance of roles, they were, in effect, describing an unequal and often unfair reward system embedded within our society. For example, while professors earn about 500,000 naira a month, senators receive as much as 30 million naira a month, despite the critical social service and value of education. It's the society we created, and that's why there is tension to get rich by all means. Emmanuel in Uniport. Okay. That could be the bigger picture at play here, Emmanuel. Thank you very much for bringing that. So, is it once again the social stratification? Is that why, or is it a sense of necessity? Because first and foremost, out of 2,000 or 3,000, core members that will be converged at a camp, for example, you might have just about 100 or 80 doctors. Sometimes even less, from what I gather, right? Sometimes even less. So okay, let's imagine, all right, those of you who are doctors who have been part of NMA games, for example, if all the doctors, for example, were to come to Port Harcourt for NMA games, all of you are doctors. So those of you who are going to prepare for volleyball and football, you train. So you will not need too many people to be on standby, to help. No, because all of you are doctors. Maybe those who maybe don't have the passion for physical exercise, for example, that be in that space. But yes, in camp, 2,000 plus people, only 20 or 50 doctors. Sometimes maybe that professional treatment is to be expected and ought to be given. Although I'm curious about the 100 and the fact that a lot of them by that time, in fact, even as a house officer, before they get into camp, some of them are already, cashing out hundreds of thousands of naira. Not that is that big of an amount, if you're honest, because let's be not that I mentioned it, so it doesn't look like I'm trying to trample down on the doctor's struggle. How much is 100,000 naira these days? 100,000 naira is not $1,000. It is not a month. And as sad as this is, I know that some doctors will probably, house officers, maybe 200 or 250 now these days. I read a book, or I read a survey January, that for a few minutes, no, for like a week or two, got me down, because it said that if you do not earn, or if you earn less than $1,200 a month, statistically you are poor. Let that sink in, please. Let that sink in. 017-923-0002, 0817923-0003, 0817923-0002, 0817923-0003. All right, send us a message to WhatsApp. WhatsApp is 0809-030-6416, 0809-030-6416, and at Nigeria Info PH, at Nigeria Info PH is where you find us on Facebook and on X. Jude, good morning. See, I'll be very disappointed if doctors, come into camp and are not giving some level of treatment, particularly because they went through 6 years, some even 7 years of education. It's not easy to be a doctor. But having said that, I think everybody should have a decent wage when they are in service. All right. But Uncle, do you also know that engineers can spend 7 years in school? Yes. It's not like they failed, though. Yeah. Raphael is on the line from MOA. Raphael, good morning to you. Oh, dear. Raphael, please call us back. That line got severed. Apologies. All right. 08179230002, 08179230007, 08179230002, 08179230007. All right. WhatsApp is 08090306416. Well, Jude, I think certain professions, as we see in life, ought to be given professional treatment because of the level of risk that they are usually exposed to. The doctors you mentioned, for example, they get to treat people who could have certain types of diseases. They get to touch blood, handle body fluids. Me, I can't do that. So anybody who is doing that, I beg, should be given more money. So that's a good point. That's a very good point. Yeah, that's an SMS on our page there right now. That's a very good point. The doctors tend to handle bodily fluids, blood, injections, drugs, diseases. They expose themselves. So if they are doing that, why not? Why not? Olari,